Cocaine Bear was one of my most anticipated movies of 2023. As soon as I saw the trailer, I knew I have to go see that in the theaters because it looks absolutely ridiculous, absolutely absurd. A lot of the movies that I had on my top 10 most anticipated list that's come out so far has disappointed me. Is this Elizabeth Banks action satirical comedy another one of those movies that disappoint me? Well, that's what I'm going to talk about when I break down the good and the bad of Cocaine Bear. Before I get into the premise, remember to hit that like button, subscribe to the channel, and hit that notification bell so you can notify my reviews, reactions, ranking lists, and more. Let's go. After a 500-pound black bear consumes a significant amount of cocaine and embarks on a drug-fueled rampage, an eccentric gathering of cops, criminals, tourists, and teenagers assemble in a Georgia forest. Cocaine Bear is rated R for bloody violence, gore, drug content, and language. Let's start off with the good. So going to the Cocaine Bear, I thought that this movie was going to be a silly, dumb movie about this high bear based on a loosely based on a true story, ripping through dumb people in this forest who doesn't know that this thing is on a rampage. And while that's mostly true, it is a high on Cocaine Bear ripping through people throughout the movie. What the movie did smartly to elevate it from being like just a throwaway film that you laugh at and to make it something that I think was a little bit better and a little bit more engaging was to give us time in the beginning with the central characters and throughout and have them have all these different sub stories that you can follow that tie into the reason why they're in this forest while this bear is going crazy. We get introduced to these colorful cast of characters with a mix of veterans like Keri Russell, Isaiah Whitlock, and rest in peace to this guy, Ray Liotta, mixed with newcomers like Christian Convery and Brooklyn Prince. The whole cast has amazing chemistry with one another where it doesn't matter which pair is together, there's always some type of energy and fun going on the screen. Way before we even get to see the bear to go on a full rampage, I was laughing throughout the film because the interactions between each group as they're together and then as they start intersecting with each other is just hilarious. All these characters have a distinct personality that's different from one another and have a purpose to be in the film. And I really enjoyed and liked a lot of the characters in this film, which made it even better when the bear did come. I was like, no, don't kill these people. The main event here is the Cocaine Bear, entirely CGI, and it's 90% believable throughout the movie. And because for the most part, it looks like a real bear, but you can tell that some moments is CGI because of the things that you're like, okay, a bear probably can't move like that or have that much personality, because the bear has so much personality, and the things it does in the film and how crazy it gets of trying to get the next high is absolutely hilarious, but also absolutely terrifying. One moment in the movie, it can look really adorable and harmless, and the next moment it's stalking its next prey or looking for its next high. I think they did a really great job of making not only the human characters entertaining, but the bear itself be entertaining while terrifying as well. I think the tone of this movie really worked in that favor because this is an satirical action comedy. So it's set in the 80s during the Reagan era, and they really play on that, even using commercials about anti-drug commercials, talking about what drugs do to your brain and things like that. And it just transfers to what drugs is doing to this bear's brain. And I thought that was a really good contrast and a really good commentary on the time that this movie is set. But the most important part is the film is teeming from the beginning with personality and spunk and a lot of fun. The way Elizabeth Banks directs this film and the writers write this film, it goes from a dramedy, like a drama comedy, to a horror movie, back to a comedy in seconds, and each time gets enough time where you can deal with it, but then it kind of cuts the tension with the next feeling of the movie. So it's a dramatic moment might be happening, and then some comedy happens to cut the tension from the drama, and then as that comedy bit is happening, you're laughing, the bear shows up, and then the intensity comes in and the horror comes in. There's a lot of great horror tropes in here that's used really, really well, where this bear can just feel like it disappears within the forest and then pop up at any moment. So the people in the film are always scrambling like, where the hell is it? It's not just the bear chasing them throughout the whole time and them trying to escape. It has a bit more intelligence than you would think it would have. The movie leans into the absurdity of the situation throughout the movie, through the relationships of the characters, what happens between each of them, and how this bear just rips through some of them in some of the most horrifying ways and some of the most funny ways. The reactions from the cast is great, and they all are doing a great job of like interacting with this CGI monstrosity, because it never felt like the bear was there and then the person didn't really know what they were supposed to be looking at. And I want to give a really big shout out to Elizabeth Banks for her directing. I think she did a really great job of creating a fun, funny atmosphere for this movie to live on, but also directing these really, really talented actors in bringing this really great energy to the film that keeps you entertained throughout the runtime. And as the movie goes on, it gets a little bit more dramatic. It gets a little bit more funny. It gets a little bit more absurd. It gets a little bit more horrifying. And just a moment that happens on early in the film, two of the characters are the daughter of Keri Russell's character and her friend from school, and she ditches school to get her mom's attention because she's not paying attention enough to her. And they go into the forest, and they're supposed to be there to do a specific thing, and they run into the cocaine, and they start playing around with that. And that whole moment is really funny with kids trying to figure out what that is. And obviously the knowledge on what cocaine is not as much as it is now back then in the 80s, and it turns in from a moment of them talking about their parents to a really hilarious moment where one of them mistakenly gets cocaine in their face, to the bear showing up and it being this horrifying presence that these little kids are now in danger with. And the main thing I got to say is that the things that you saw in the trailer for this film is all leading up to the best moments of the film. They did not show the best moments of the film in the trailer, which I was scared of because a lot of movies do that. But what they smartly did is build up to the crazy, gory action moments in the film are in the trailer. So you see that and you think, okay, I know how that ends, but you do not know how crazy each of those sections are going to end. They did a really good job of really extending those scenes that we see in the trailer and making them entertaining and making the punchline of it and everything that happens at the end of it. And even before it, everything before what you saw in the trailer, everything that happens at the end, the best parts of the film. So let's get into the bad. So I think that this film had a really great energy, fun, drama, and obviously horror throughout the film for those first two acts. I think the third act is where some of the energy and the things that was making it really, really fun get sucked out a bit. We get focused on a certain amount of characters that are left after this bear's rampage, and it gets really melodramatic. It feels really, really rushed, and I think that it lets down the first two acts just a tad bit. I got taken out of the movie just a bit when this was happening because people were delivering speeches and it felt out of place, and it just felt like they didn't know how exactly to wrap that third act up. It wasn't terrible or anything. I still had some fun. There was still some good moments, and the actual ending of what had to happen to some characters was pretty gruesome and awesome, but elements of it it just didn't feel like it was the same movie I was watching those first two acts. So let's get into my verdict. So I split my verdict into who's this for and if you should go check it out and how I feel overall. Who is this for? I think this is for people who love absurd, crazy, off-the-wall movies that has colorful characters, that's gory, that's funny, and it's just a really, really good time. Something you could take your friends with and have a lot of fun and just enjoy and go to the theaters, and this will be a very communal experience. I had a great time in the theater seeing this, and I went by myself, but just everybody together and the comments and the oohs and the ahs just elevated the experience even more. How I feel overall, this movie third act does not hold back from the overall movie being an absolute blast for me. I had so much fun. I thought this movie was really awesome. I had so much to laugh at about and to worry about as well, because they made me engaged in the characters. Even the characters that were antagonists, I was worried about them as well. And I think that the script and the directing really did a really good job of keeping the energy of this film upbeat and intense and fun at all times. This is the first movie since No Way Home that my crowd clapped at the end of the film, and that just hasn't been happening lately, even with films that I love. So that says it all for me, and I'm going to give this movie a B. Did you like it? Did you hate it? What would you rate Cocaine Bear if you saw it? And if you have not seen it, let me know if my review had pushed you towards going and see this really fun, awesome film. Like the video if you like my review, subscribe to the channel, and hit that notification bell so you can be notified of my reviews, reactions, ranking lists, live discussions, and more. And you can watch more of my content right now.